Eric Pathy here with Big Al's All Access. Costi sent me a text message. She says, man, that was nasty. I said, well, I didn't watch the game. And then I texted you. I said, we got to do a video. I want to go to sleep. I said, you watching the game? You said, no, I just saw I lost it. And I was upstairs with the kids and checked it. People do not realize I have a 1 hour podcast that we started doing every Thursday. We had Michael on there, and people are amazed. I say one of the fundamental things that most sports bettors that are recreational don't realize is the pros like us, like it's watching paint dry. Like if it's the Spurs, it's your favorite team, I get it. Or if my son wants to watch the Ravens with me, I get it. But like when you do this day in and day out, there's really no value of watching the games. And I just to defer to you, and I'll ask you because we never talk about it. It doesn't help your database. You watching the games, you can get all the
that's the most important point, and I think it's the thing that a lot of people do not understand is, and it also does depend on who you are. I would never say to another handicapper, it may be valuable. Everyone handicaps differently.
So
For how
were you friends with Brian Blessing before he passed away?
I knew, I'm sure, yeah.
He's a good friend with Dana. So they were both live in Las Vegas, and Dana used to come to the radio station when I used to do the radio show with Brian. So that's how I know Dana. Meeting him, my show would end, and then Dana's hockey show would start with Brian. Brian and I, and all of my shows are archived online, radio shows, and I did a radio show with him for 10 years. He, like you said, you would never tell another capper. He was what he used to say, I use the eyeball test. So he'd say, my handicapping, he was so insane, Al. He would spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday watching every single NFL game back on tape.
There's a lot of guys like that.
For 40 years.
There are a lot of handicappers who do that. Every handicapper is different. Every handicapper gets information different ways.
It drove him crazy that Mike and I didn't watch the games. We would be on the radio, and he'd say, "You do it your way." He said, "Look, I'm 60 plus whatever years old. I'm not changing." So that's what he did.
I mean, one of the things for me, like we joke about college basketball. Remember, I think a couple of years ago, I was taking Pacific a lot. Why do I ever want to watch a Pacific game,
right,
and see exactly how bad they are, which would then poison my mind, and then I couldn't be dispassionate when I'm analyzing their next game because I just watched them lose by 37 points. So there's no value to watching a game and seeing a team play horribly because you may want to take them the next game and you don't need to be prejudiced. That's one reason.
Brian used to say, I watch the games for other reasons than the player thinks. But if a player is going to make their next wagering decision based on the last game, he told me, tell them to throw out the last game. He said, I'm watching them in week 11, but I've already watched the prior week, the prior 10 games. He had a database in his brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fair. For me, I'm a situational technical handicapper. I'm looking at, metrics and numbers. So watching the game doesn't change the fact that the Oklahoma City Thunder have covered the spread by, X point Y points per game. I'm looking at numbers. So I don't need to watch a game when I'm basically looking at data. The data are what's important, not, and then the other thing, you're working at this all day long. I'm handicapping games, during the high season, 14, 16 hours a day. I need a break.
Right. And so now let me ask you this, because I don't have the number yet. I logged into I can't find the line. But so we lost the Cleveland game. We're talking about, obviously, the Cleveland game. So now I'm looking, and on 5:15 at 1 p.m. in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time, Cleveland now travels and plays at the Pacers, right? So
no, they lost the series. No, the series is over.
I'm sorry, the series is over. So when that happens and people are going, I can't believe, they had the best win-loss record, blah, blah, blah. They were the number one team against the spread beside Oak City. Like, I remember you saying this early, the teams that perform against the spread well doesn't necessarily mean I mean, you would say that that's a collapse of a collapse, right? Cleveland, like
No, I wouldn't say that, because they had some injuries. Um, I mean, look, it's hard. It doesn't matter if you're the number 1 seed, the number 2 seed, the number 3 seed, the number 4 seed, the number 5 seed. Winning the playoffs is hard. Indiana is a good team. They made the conference finals last year. Um, I don't think this is a horrible, disgusting series loss by Cleveland, but I mean, it's back to the drawing board.
What did you think of since we're doing this video at 10:15 on a Tuesday night for Wednesday? What did you think of Boston's collapse? The game on
Well,
Monday.
again, I haven't watched any of the games,
Right.
but again, you've got they haven't lost it yet, but you've got an injury to Tatum, so it's getting there. I think the Boston series loss is harder because I think Boston was a better team than Cleveland, and they're the defending champions. And if they go out in 5 games or 6 games, that's going to be hard. But at this point, they've got an injury to Tatum, so it's almost like it's expected at this point.
So after tonight's game, the record for the season against the spread was Cleveland was 52-38-1, the second best team in the NBA against the spread. Not to be best.
Yeah, that means so little.
But I mean, means that I'm definitely.
Who was the best? Who was the best team in 2024? Was it the Orlando Magic?
Oklahoma City 56-31.
No, 2024, the previous year.
Oh, the previous year was. I'm going to tell you.
Was it the Orlando Magic?
Orlando Magic 55-34.
Right, and how they do in the playoffs.
Right, exactly. Right.
Doesn't matter.
Right. And Jay's team, Dallas, was the second best in 2024, 60-43. Right.
And they did great in the playoffs. But I mean, it's winning against a spread in the regular season, who gives a shit?
Well, and then you look at Dallas. So listen, how about this? So Dallas was 60-43 in 2024 against the spread, and versus 30-49-3 this last season. So
yeah, and look, and they just hit the lottery and they win Cooper Flag. So what a great trade that was! They traded Luka Doncic for Cooper Flag and Anthony Davis. Brilliant trade.
There you go. So with that being said, guys, the moral of this video is, a lot of pros don't watch games. Some guys do. We know people in the industry, but for your database, which is featured in ESPN, one of 3 people in the world to have it, allowing you to be a successful handicapper for decades. You didn't spend a lot of those decades in front of the TV watching games.
I used to watch them all the time. I quit watching games, so I'm 59, so to date myself, but I probably quit watching games around 2016, where it just, you have kids, you've got other things going on. You get
busier. Did that coincide with any life changes?
Yeah. Kids.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So it's funny. I literally didn't watch any games. I'm the opposite. So to date myself, I'm only not that much younger than you. I'm 52. I didn't watch games till my son became a football freak. And then he was like, "Dad, take me to the game." So every year it's like, basically he gets one baseball game out of me and he gets a couple of NFL games out of me. And unlike Costi, who is a freak and goes to all the Ravens games.
He goes to the Ravens games. Does he go to the Oriole games too?
Nah, he basically goes to every home Ravens game because he's a freak and does the whole tailgating and is willing to do that. He does cut it off for work purposes. He only goes to the 4 o'clock and the Sunday night NFL games. If it's a 1 o'clock start, he won't go to the games. So for all the clients out there wondering why he never goes to the early 10 a.m. games your time, he's got to work. He's got to deal with the games. But with that being said, the life of a pro versus a Joe, what do you got as your complimentary selection in this next NBA card ahead of us?
Oh gosh, let's it's an elimination game for Boston. Obviously they're dealing with the injury to Tatum. You got to look at the under here. it was a high-scoring game in game 4, but I think it's going to be a much lower scoring game here. When you look at the last 60 meetings between Boston and New York, 35, 24, and 1 to the under. Boston is 12 and 5 under when they've trailed in a playoff series. New York is 35 and 16 to the under when they've led in a playoff series. We saw yesterday, Cleveland and Indiana went under the total when Cleveland was down 3-1. Not yesterday, when they watch it, it'll be yesterday. Today, yeah. So Boston is also down 3-1. Teams down 3-1 facing elimination tend to go under the total as well. 101 and 88 is that stat. So I think the under would be the play we're going to look at today, under the 208.
Under the 208 it is, guys. Reach out for the all access. And as always, hope you had fun listening to the lives of pros versus Joes and statistics and trends. And good day and good luck.